Hello and a very good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television with me, Frank Pereira. Let's begin with today's headlines. As four of its women ministers are embroiled in controversies, opposition questions the inaction of the BJP and the silence of the Prime Minister. Flood scare in Uttarakhand, Chardham Yatra suspended as a vital bridge in Kedarnath is washed away. Monsoon covers entire India except West Rajasthan. Government moves in to cap airfares. Civil Aviation Ministry says mechanisms will soon be in place to curb predatory pricing. US Supreme Court endorses Obamacare, saying it improves the health insurance market, ensuring the Affordable Care Act will survive even after Obama. And India to take on arch-rivals Pakistan in the Hockey World League semi-final. High-voltage encounter expected at Antwerp. Well, first up in the bulletin this morning, four of BJP's ministers seem to be in big trouble. One in Maharashtra, the HRD minister, Sushma Swaraj, and a chief minister from Rajasthan. But the party has stood by them right from the beginning and are supporting them to the hilt. This, of course, is not going down too well with the opposition, who have questioned the Prime Minister's silence on the entire issue. Here's more.
Sushma Swaraj, Vasundhara Raje, Smriti Irani and Pankaja Munde. Four of BJP's women ministers in trouble over various controversies. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj and Rajasthan Chief Minister Vasundhara Raje are embroiled in a controversy over helping out tainted former IPL chief Lalit Modi. With news of Rajya allegedly giving an affidavit backing Modi's immigration application in the UK becoming public, protests against her and demands for her removal have gained ground.
There is nothing much left to be said or much space for the BJP to keep defending its leaders. Vasundhara ji as Chief Minister cannot remain in that position because we want a thorough investigation.
Protests were also held in Delhi against Sushma Swaraj and HRD Minister Smriti Irani. While Swaraj also faces accusations of helping Modi, Irani is embroiled in a controversy surrounding her educational qualifications. A Delhi court is due to hear a complaint against her over furnishing incorrect details about her educational qualifications while filing her poll nomination.
बड़ा दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है अगर देश के शिक्षा मंत्री पर इस तरीके के आरोप लगने लगे। अगर शिक्षा मंत्री जी कहीं जानकारी गलत दे रही क्योंकि जो आ रहा है कि 3 जगह 3 तरीके की जानकारी दी, तो फिर क्या होगा इस देश का अगर देश में जो आदर्श स्थापित करता है वही आदर्शों को तोड़ेगा।
In Maharashtra, the BJP government's Women and Child Development Minister Pankaja Munde is under a cloud for clearing purchases worth 206 crore rupees. But Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis is standing firmly behind her.
ये जो खरीद हुई है ये फरवरी में हुई है और फरवरी में सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट की जो ग्रांट्स आई थी उसको 31 मार्च से पहले यूटिलाइज करना आवश्यक था और इसलिए मुझे लगता नहीं है कि इसमें कोई नियमों को ताक पे रखा गया है। हाँ, जहाँ तक जो चीज़ें सप्लाई हुई है उसके ऊपर अगर कोई प्रश्न चिन्ह लगाता है तो ज़रूर उसकी जांच होगी और स्वयं पंकजा मुंडे जी ने भी ये बात कही है कि इसकी जांच की जानी चाहिए।
With four of its ministers in trouble for various reasons, there are increased calls for the Prime Minister to break his silence on them. A call that is only going to gain ground in the coming days. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, joining me for a chat this morning to talk about this is Mahua Chatterjee of the Times of India. Mahua, is the BJP defending the indefensible right now?
See, the BJP is defending the indefensible, it looks like. But the BJP has no option, really. Because you see that all those issues that have come up, most of them have actually to do with improprieties. I mean, whether it is Sushma Swaraj's case of helping out Lalit Modi, or whether it is Vasundhara Raje helping him out, known to be an old friend, and even for that matter, Smriti Irani's degrees, I mean, affidavits about her educational qualifications. These are all improprieties which should not have been there, and that's what, you know, the government should be about. I mean, it should not have improprieties or not get into improprieties to be able to tell, I mean, people who are making legislations, making policy should not be seen to be improper, really. So that's where it stands. But then what the BJP has been saying in their defense is also to some extent understandable. One probably should be giving them a little bit of time in the sense of, I mean, where it comes to, see, the demand is straight away for either sacking or resignations and things like that. So the point is that these are definitely being done through the media. The opposition is, and naturally would not let go of the opportunity, and and for the media, these are always stories which
Give them some kind of mileage, yes.
mileage in the sense, and till the time they get resolved or till the time they get diverted, they remain in the headlines for a while because there is public interest in it, and so therefore it is continuing. And because it is continuing, there is a huge pressure also which is building on BJP, whether it is in Rajasthan, whether it is at the center, whether it is on Prime Minister or Maharashtra for that matter, which has just
talking about the Prime Minister, now the opposition has demanded some kind of, the Prime Minister to come out and speak about the issue. Is it unwarranted? Should the Prime Minister be speaking about this? Because many of his top ministers have already spoken about the issue.
See, that's where I was coming to the point that, so there's huge pressure building up from the opposition and the through the media. And whether the government or the ruling party will succumb to it, to that pressure, is what is to be seen. Because, I mean, in real terms, I'm sure whatever BJP is saying, and I mean, BJP is hardly saying anything in public. If they are trying to defend their people, which is from their perspective the right thing to do. But internally, they are trying to assess whether these charges have a certain weight, whether they are real. If they are, eventually BJP may have to take the hard path and, sort of only resolve issues by having to remove some of these people. But whether that happens or not is yet to be seen. That depends on the BJP's internal assessment of these documents and charges that are being talked about. And as far as the Prime Minister is concerned, I'm sure in a case like this, he will, I mean, Prime Minister has set his own standards, actually. He has been speaking on every issue that has come up, and that has created the expectation that he should also be speaking on this, and rightly so, that expectation. For instance, his Man Ki Baat is next episode of Man Ki Baat is coming up. He has been taking up contemporary issues. Now it is really to be seen whether he touches this particular issue or not, because this is the raging issue in the government and everywhere else right now.
Indeed. What this makes for is a very stormy monsoon session, because the Congress has said that they are not going to let the House function come the following session now.
We have seen it happen. We have seen it happen in the past 2 tenures, past 2 Lok Sabhas also, when the same BJP was in the opposition, and similar issues, whether it was the 2G scam and the removal of Rajya and, all these, whether it was the coal scam, Kalmadi on the CWG issue. This is, you have to give it to the opposition when it comes to the parliament session, because that is the only time when the opposition's politics is in focus. So it is, and if the House is disrupted, which is not a difficult task for even a smaller group of people than there is in the opposition right now. even that is not difficult. I mean, disruptions are far easier than to run the house. So it is a huge challenge for the BJP to run the monsoon session as it looks like from now, though there's actually still a whole month to go almost for the
Session to begin, yes.
Yeah, Parliament to begin. And if matters get resolved before that, fine. But the manner in which new documents coming up every day, new names being thrown up every day has been going on. And as far as the opposition is concerned, why should they allow the opportunity to pass by?
It is an opportunity
so
for them,
the trouble is the bills.
The trouble is the bills. The bills are look like they're going to be in a limbo right now. Remains to be seen what happens. As you said, 1 month to go. We'll see how this issue pans out, and we'll keep our eyes closely watched on that. Thank you so much, Mawa, for joining us on the program this morning and sharing your expertise on this subject. Let's take a look now at the news and events lined up for today in our segment, The Day Ahead. Telangana and Andhra Pradesh Governor ESL Narasimhan will meet Home Minister Rajnath Singh in the national capital today. The meeting comes in the backdrop of Andhra Pradesh's demand for implementation of Section 8 of the Andhra Pradesh Reorganisation Act that provides for handling the law and order in Hyderabad, the common capital of the two states. Narasimhan is also expected to brief Singh about the rift between the two states in the wake of the Cash for Vote scandal. The Associated Chambers of Commerce of India will host the second national conference on financial frauds in New Delhi today. Deputy Governor of the Reserve Bank of India, R. Gandhi, will be the chief guest at the event. Some of the issues to be discussed are fraud in the banking sector, fraud in NBFC sector and accounting fraud. Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif will fly to Vienna for talks with the 6 major powers aimed at sealing a final deal on Tehran's nuclear program. A deadline of June 30th has been set for the deal, but negotiations are widely expected to slide past that date. The major powers in the talks, Britain, China, France, Germany, Russia and the United States, had reached a framework accord with Iran in April this year. Aam Aadmi Party MLA Somnath Bharti has been asked by the Delhi Commission for Women to reply on his wife's complaints of domestic violence. DCW had issued summons to Bharti to appear before it today. Earlier this month, Bharti's wife had levelled serious allegations of domestic violence against him. The estranged couple had attended a second round of counselling at Delhi Police's Crime Against Women cell. Well, let's shift focus now in a clear signal on capping skyrocketing airfares. The Civil Aviation Ministry has said mechanisms would be put in place to curb the predatory pricing ways of airlines. The latest move comes against the backdrop of rising concerns expressed in various quarters, including by parliamentarians over the steep fluctuation in airfares. Minister of State for Civil Aviation Mahesh Sharma said on Thursday that something needed to be done about the predatory pricing of airfares. He also emphasized that efforts would be made with a consensus among airlines on the matter. The minister urged the Director General of Civil Aviation to put in place some mechanism to check the steep variations in price of air tickets. A large section of the public and even parliamentarians have raised the issue that airlines charge 30 to 40,000 rupees for a ticket when passengers try to book tickets on short notice. Fair Trade Watchdog Competition Commission of India is looking at the arbitrary airfare hike issue and possible cartelization by carriers. Well, doing this has been long overdue. It remains to be seen when, of course, this is rolled out. Moving on now, monsoon has wreaked havoc in several parts of northern India. Heavy downpour is expected in Uttarakhand during the next 48 hours, with the Char Dham Yatra already being halted. There are fears of floods. Now, the situation remains the same in Gujarat, with the death toll from flooding going up to 70. Meanwhile, there is some respite for Kashmir, as officials said that the water level has receded in the Jhelum River, with the weather conditions improving. Here's a detailed report.
As the southwest monsoon gains strength, flood alert has been sounded in several parts of northern India. Incessant rainfall in Uttarakhand has forced authorities to halt the Char Dham Yatra. The Met Department has issued an alert for heavy rains over the next 48 hours at isolated places, especially In Uttarkashi, Rudraprayag, Chamoli, Pauri, Tehri, Nainital, Almora and Pithoragarh districts. Heavy downpour is expected in Himachal Pradesh as well.
पहले से हैवी रेनफॉल की सूचना थी, उस लिहाज से सारी तैयारी थी। जहाँ जहाँ पर ऐसे लैंडस्लाइड जोन है जो कि प्रोन एरियाज है, उन पे ऑलरेडी पहले से तैयारी की वजह से आज जहाँ भी यात्री फंसे हुए थे उन सभी को सुरक्षित जगह पे रखा गया है।
कुछ स्थानों में संभावना है कि कुछ ज़्यादा बारिश हो जाए और जैसा कि जनपदों से सूचना प्राप्त हुई है सभी जगह पे छुटपुट बारिश हो रही है। कहीं से भी किसी अप्रिय समाचार की घटना की सूचना नहीं मिली है।
A flood-like situation continues in Gujarat. At least 70 people have been killed, several remain missing and nearly 23 houses are damaged. 3 NDRF teams have been deployed for relief and rescue operations. Chief Minister Anandiben Patel has announced flood relief of ₹4 lakh.
4 વાગે પાણી આવી ગયું છે, 4 ને 6 મિનિટે પાણી આવ્યું હતું અને પાણી આવતે એક ને 4 ને 8 મિનિટે પાણી અમારા માથા સુધી પૂગી ગયું। કોઈ પરિસ્થિતિ નથી કે અમારે શું કરવું, કોઈ ઢોર માટ બધું મરી ગયું છે, બધું ગયું છે, કેટલું બધું નુકસાન થયું છે। પોતાનો અમારો જીવ અમારે બચાવવા માટે અમારે કોઈ પરિસ્થિતિ નથી સર।
However, there is good news from Kashmir as the flood threat has somehow diminished with a slight improvement in weather conditions. Water level in Jhelum River at 2 places in south and central Kashmir is also stabilizing. The situation has also improved in Assam. According to officials of the state government, only 10 villages remain affected as of now. The southwest monsoon has covered the entire country except western Rajasthan. Met officials say it has further advanced into remaining part of northern Arabian Sea, Gujarat, Haryana, Chandigarh, Delhi and some parts of West Rajasthan. India has recorded 24% more rainfall than the normal this time, with central and southern India receiving 52% and 32% more rain respectively. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
I'll hear all the other national news and updates in Nationwide. In its first budget for the national capital, the Aam Aadmi Party government has allotted a lion's share to education. Of the 41,000 crore rupees, the Kejriwal government has set aside nearly 1/4 of it for education, a rise of over 100% than last time. Money will be used to develop 50 model schools and train teachers besides making them more accountable. It is also planning a skill university to make Delhi into a knowledge and skill hub. Even as the steep cutoffs for undergraduate courses in Delhi University have caused widespread dismay among aspiring candidates, the soaring eligibility mark has been termed absurd and unbelievable. 2 colleges have set the benchmark at 100% for admission to the BSc Computer Science course. But for some courses, the required percentage is going beyond the perfect courses after taking into account some hidden additional criterion. Well-known environmentalist and former bureaucrat R. Rajamani passed away in Hyderabad on Thursday after a brief illness. He was 78. As an expert on environmental issues, after retiring from the Government of India, Rajamani took on the role of advisor to the UN Environment Programme, also playing a critical role in protecting Hyderabad's environment and rich heritage. After openly criticizing the Institutes of Management Bill 2015, the director of IIMA, Ashish Nanda, has now written to the HRD Ministry, cautioning the government against introducing several provisions that are aimed at taking away the autonomy of the institutes. He has found support from other IIM directors as well. IIM Bangalore director Pankaj Chandra says that the very introduction of the bill is problematic as it raises serious questions about the standard and quality of the IIMs. Well, it's time for a short break now, but still to come on the program. Islamic State fighters attacked Syrian city of Kobani, killing at least 50 people. That and much more on the other side. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
In China, fortunately for them, the industrial sector plays a very huge role now. All the funding does not come entirely from the government. But in India, we still expect the government to do all the funding, which is not fair on the government. ideally like the industrial sector to spend about 4 times what the government is spending. The industrial sector should wake up and pump in about 240,000 crores. And I see no signs of that.
Watch Eureka with Dr. Gangan Pratap, former director, NISCARE, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Get live Rajya Sabha session. News, views, reports and analysis you can trust on social media. Subscribe, follow, like Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, in a major ruling, the US Supreme Court has upheld a key portion of President Barack Obama's healthcare law, Obamacare, preserving health insurance for millions of Americans. The court endorsed the scheme, saying that tax subsidies which make health insurance affordable for low-income individuals should continue. The ruling virtually ensures that Obamacare will survive even after President Obama leaves office in 2017. President Obama hailed the court's decision as historic, considering Obamacare is one of his pet projects. However, Republicans have vowed to continue to fight the law. Unlike in many other Western countries, the US does not have a single-payer healthcare system. Private companies provide health insurance to US citizens.
Hope is that rather than keep refighting battles that have been settled again and again and again, I can work with Republicans and Democrats to move forward. Let's join together. Make healthcare in America even better.
The problem with Obamacare is still fundamentally the same. The law is broken. It's raising costs for American families. It's raising costs for small businesses.
Well, here's a quick wrap of the other international stories this Friday morning. Islamic State fighters have attacked the Syrian city of Kobani months after being driven out. They detonated car bombs and launched an assault. Reports say at least 50 civilians have been killed, including 20 in nearby villages. IS has recently suffered a string of defeats to Kurdish forces, but in another attack on Thursday, it seized parts of the key northeastern city of Hasake. A South African commission on Thursday recommended a criminal investigation into the deaths of 34 miners during a strike in 2012. President Jacob Zuma said an inquiry concluded that the police had a defective plan to end the strike at the Marikana mine and were wrong to proceed with it. Police have always claimed self-defense in the shooting of the workers during a protest over wages. The killings were the worst violence in South Africa since the end of the racial discrimination 20 years ago. France's interior minister has ordered a ban on the low-cost car-sharing service Uber Pop after a day of nationwide protests by the taxi drivers. The minister said that the service was illegal and ordered police and prosecutors to enforce its closure. His announcement followed a day of sometimes violent protests by 4 French taxi drivers who say that the US-based firm Uber is stealing their livelihood. A move to amend Myanmar's constitution to remove the military's legislative veto on key decisions fell short of the required 75% support in parliament, preserving the armed forces' powerful political role in the Asian nation. The result was no surprise given that a quarter of the seats in the House are by law held by the military, which ruled Myanmar for half a century until 2011. The Palestinian Authority made its first submission of evidence of alleged Israeli war crimes to the International Criminal Court on Thursday, trying to speed up an inquiry into abuses committed during last year's Gaza conflict. The move may leave Israel in a quandary since it must decide whether to cooperate with the ICC investigation or find itself isolated as one of the very few countries that have declined to work with its prosecutors. Moving on to some sports news now, the Indian men's hockey team will take on arch rivals Pakistan in a much-anticipated Pool A encounter of the Hockey World League semi-final in Antwerp today. This will be the first encounter between the subcontinental hockey rivals since their clash in the tense incident marred Champions Trophy semi-finals in Bhubaneswar, where some gestures during on-field celebrations by the victorious Pakistani team led to a few suspensions. India have won both their group games against France and Poland. Pakistan, on the other hand, won their opening game against Poland but were drubbed 6-1 by Australia in their second. This tournament is the last opportunity for Pakistan to qualify for the 2016 Olympic Games in Rio. Here's all the other overnight sports news in SportsBeat. India's legendary batsman Sachin Tendulkar has been voted the best test player of the 21st century in an online poll conducted by Cricket Australia's website. The former India skipper got the highest number of votes to emerge on top of the list of the 100 best test players since 2000 in a poll conducted on Cricket Australia's website. Sri Lanka's Kumar Sangakkara received the second highest votes, followed by Adam Gilchrist of Australia in third position. Top seeds Sania Mirza and Martina Hingis entered the semi-finals of the WTA Aegon International after coming from a set down to prevail over Hao Ching Chan and Flavia Pennetta. The Indo-Swiss duo got the better of the unseeded combo of Taipei's Chan and Pennetta from Italy, 4-6, 6-3, 10-6 in an hour and 13 minutes. In semi-finals, the top-seeded pair will take on Caroline Garcia and Katarina Srebotnik. Top seeds Leander Paes and Marcel Granollers were on Thursday knocked out of the ATP Aegon Open following a quarter-final defeat against unseeded Chris Guccione and Andre Sa. Paes and Granollers lost 4-6, 6-3, 10-7 to the Australian-Brazilian pair in 1 hour and 15 minutes in the grass court event, the last in the build-up to Wimbledon. Former champion Caroline Wozniacki reached the semi-finals of the Eastbourne Grass Court tournament with a 7-5, 6-1 defeat of Germany's Andrea Petkovic on Thursday. The Dane dropped her 3 opening service games but broke back each time and went ahead 5-3 in the first set. The second set was far more straightforward and the 2009 champion sealed her win with a drive volley onto an open court. France's Women's World Cup team trained in Montreal on Thursday in preparation for their quarter-final match against Germany in the Canadian city on Friday. France come to the quarter-final having beaten England. They topped Group F and meet Germany, who topped Group B. Germany are 2-time winners of the World Cup in 2003 and 2007, while France's best performance in the tournament was 4th in the last edition in 2011. Well, Novak Djokovic gave the crowd at the Boodles tennis tournament an entertaining time on Thursday when he interrupted play against Richard Gasquet with an impromptu striptease. The women in the crowd had an entertaining time as Djokovic succeeded in persuading Gasquet to follow suit. Take a look at this as I take your leave. Have a good day.